we just thank you right now for great results today. Father, we just lift this up to you right now, Father. We thank you that no weapons formed against us shall prosper, that any tongue that rises up against us we shall condemn. For this is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is from you.
You're running for...
I'm running for HISD trustee in district number 6.
Yeah.
And we're in one of the precincts in the middle of the district about to do some block walking. Campaign sidekicks.
Yeah.
These houses are on there, but we try to cover houses that are not even on there too, because this is a nonpartisan race.
Right.
And we want to grab people from both sides of the aisle. The campaign sidekicks mostly has conservatives on it, but we want to get conservatives and non-conservatives. Like, after all our children are in school.
So you're just kind of hitting every house.
Yeah.
All right, folks, Duke Machado here. We're so glad you're joining us today. We have a special guest all the way from Houston, Texas, Dr. Kendall Baker. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much, Duke. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to see you again. You know, just down there over the weekend, hanging out with you and Bridget and Caroline was pretty cool to see all the work that you guys are doing down there, and then really just to get an understanding of the magnitude of the issues there in the Houston Independent School District. So tonight, you know, look, we're just going to cut loose. We're gonna let the truth be known about the situation there, what it's going to take to turn the Houston schools around. So again, Lexit USA, thank you. Our audience is very tuned in, because 61% of Houston schools are Latino students. And, you know, we do have to do a better job in our big cities to help our students. And it just so happens that a large percentage, when you include the Black community, the Black students, and the Latino community, I'll cut this. When you include the Black and Latino student population, that's over 80%. So talk to me, Dr. Kendall Baker. Let us know what's going on in Houston.
Thank you so much, Duke, and thank you to the auspicious and great group called Lexit that you represent. Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure.
Kendall Baker, a native Houstonian, one of 6 kids, the third oldest, product of the public school system since birth, and been living in the district all my life. After graduating high school, I had a personal choice whether I wanted to go to military, college, or join the police department in some form or fashion. And so when the dust settled, I wind up working for the city, and then I began to pull out my communications background. And so I used to be in radio, and I noticed I had a gift on the phone, and that's when I said, well, look, I'm going to stick with communications. So I started with wastewater operations. Then from there, I went to 911 emergency. And that's when it was brand new. And when they did a summation of all my calls, I took 250,000 emergency calls. And then from there, 311 started. It was brand new. I'm making a long story short. And from there, they said, well, Kendall, we used your voice on city phones in the past. Can we use your voice again? And so, yeah, without hesitation, look, the city wanted to use my voice. I love working with people, 2.2 million people. And so here it is. They use it, and I practice over and over again. So finally, we came up with this one. Thank you for calling the 311 Houston Service Helpline. Your call may be monitored or recorded for quality customer service, and on and on and on, you know. And so that's when I began to recognize and use, and I let the city use it for free. You know, it became part of the job. And long story short, that career wound up being 29 years
Wow.
And I love working in the thick of people on the front lines,
Mm-hmm.
on the battle lines, everything from trash pickup to dead animals to my water's off to my sewage is backing up to I need an ambulance, a police or fire. All of that culminated my life, and I embraced it for 29 years. And someone says, how did you like? I loved it.
So
Loved it.
you could easily say you had your finger on the pulse of Houston for all that time.
I've had my finger, thank you for putting, I had my finger on the pulse of Houston all my life, all my adult years. And so, so over the last 7 years, I got involved in insurance, became an insurance adjuster, just started trying some different things. Also became a Epic trainer, the new hospital system called Epic. We're installed software for record keeping, traveling all around and so forth. And then that's seasonal. And so, but I've always had an ear to the cry of the people. So over the last 7 years, I ran for mayor, I ran for state representative, because deep down in my spirit, I know I was born to be a public servant. And then the cry came around December of last year and January of this year for the school board. And the cry began to get louder and louder as February came, March came. And I said, well, let me take it to the Lord and pray. Prayed about it. And over the summer, I made up my mind and put my name in a hat to run for HISD trustee for District 6, where I live, because we pretty much had no leadership, no really visible and active leadership here in District 6.
So I've been learning more about the school board there in Houston, and I mean, it's like you got to be prepared when you come to the school board meetings. You might get in a tangle with somebody. I mean, you might start throwing rounds at each other. Apparently, they get kind of volatile and heated, and and that's among board members. That's not even from the city, but the city gets frustrated and upset too. The citizens do, and the school board makes such an impact on the future of the city. And so how are I think I know because of things I've read, but I want your perspective of how they're handling things right now. Your particular opponent, why people choose you over them? What's the main thing?
Well, first of all, the two entities are similar in a lot of ways. We're still dealing with the same 2.2 million citizenry, the citizens of Houston. The same citizens, some of which have children in the HISD schools. My experience is that I'm also a pastor too. I love and embrace customer service. You can say I have a PhD in customer service if there were one, because I've done it for 30 years and I've been a manager in customer service for 25 of those years. And all of those years, I've got an excellent job rating on my job performance. And I had 23 years of perfect attendance, never missed a day. So when you translate that and take it over to HISD, and after having a 7-year break, I'm ready for the task. And so I see what's going on down there, and I'm great with conflict resolution, agreeing to disagree, and just keeping a calm demeanor and dealing with the issues at hand. And the most important thing is to keep our children a priority. Keep them in mind, the education, the quality education of our children in mind. And with that in mind, I don't care what's going on around me, rain, storm, hell, high waters, Dr. Baker, Kendall will be calm, because Kendall really cares about people and then children too.
We were visiting with Caroline the other day, and I think maybe I asked you guys as well, is there enough money in the budget to do things? And before the show, we were going over the budget, and it looks like there's not enough money to do the things that they plan on doing or what they're forecasting. It seems like there's a shortage already. And then I hear there's 40 schools that don't have libraries, and half of the, they don't have books. It seems like there's shortages. There's not enough money. Uh, am I wrong on that?
You're right and you're wrong, and you're right and in between. The problem there is that, first of all, as you know, a board member is a policy making component of the HIC board. So we deal with policies, we deal with the budget for sure, and then we have one position that we hire, and that's the superintendent. But a good board member requires being a good steward over taxpayer dollars. Same thing with the city. It is essential. And so, however, with HISD, the budget issues have continued to plague the district for years. And every year, what they do now is that in that $2.1 billion budget, they project a deficit that has ranged from $15 million to $107 million, and it's growing annually. And so when I get there, I plan to, like I said earlier, take a close microscopic look at the budget and see exactly what is going on. Why are we projecting shortfalls every year? And then look at where the waste is. There's a lot of waste. So you're exactly right. The money's there, but there's a lot of wasteful spending, as there is in a lot of governmental organizations. But I plan to offer tough solutions, make cuts. For example, where I see in central offices, you have a lot of heavyweight and heavy staffing in central offices. The legal department is bearing a lot of the budget because they're constantly giving out money, wasteful spending on lawsuits that could have been avoided. And then we're retaining several of the top law firms in Houston, I understand, on our retainer. And that money there, it's just a startup, just a little sneak peek at some opportunities to cut back and save and try to close that gap. After we close the gap, we will now have funding to allocate more money to the things that we want, including better pay for teachers, failing schools, and then those schools, as you mentioned earlier, that are without libraries and other resources that particularly deal specifically with the quality education of our children.
So if people don't know about the Houston Independent School District, I'll tell you, it is the largest school district in Texas and the 7th largest in the nation. Houston ISD, I'm going over this here, it's got 247 schools. There's 27,000 employees.
Yes, right. And very similar to the city, of course, we had 23,000 employees because we're serving 200,000 students in all of those schools. And so, yeah, it will require, adequate staffing to handle every component from transportation to leadership to the chief operating officer to, the board members are not paid, I understand. And so it's more like they get some type of what you call day-to-day, what's the word they use for when they pay for your food on a business trip? You get a, come on, help me.
Per diem or something like that,
diem.
or
All per diem. So it's a non-paid position, but there's a lot of opportunity there, I see, to do some cutting and then reallocation of some funding. There's a lot of wasteful spending down there.
Okay, so let's clarify something. I know from talking to you guys the other day that Houston brings in teachers, pays the teachers, but then the teachers go and they find more income in neighboring districts. Do you feel teachers are underpaid? Do we need to address that?
Yeah, the average teacher salary, as I last checked in Texas, is roughly around $53,000. That was back in 2018, 2019. So in bigger districts, teachers often earn more. So that's why they'll jump around to another district that's nearby. And since Houston has so many smaller cities within it, and then we have so many districts connected, the salaries could be very, 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 I guess you can say tempting, to go over and say, look, well, they're paying 20 or 15 or $10,000 more. Maybe I'll just go and jump on over there. But so we need to really take a step by step and peel back and look at what the teachers' salaries are and see where the opportunities are to give them an increase. Because as it is now, with the salary that they have, if you have like 2 or 3 kids and try to send them to college, it's not enough. You're going to be living on day by day, paycheck to paycheck, and so forth and so on. And it's just hard to live like that.
And I think they've got just such a hard job. I mean, they've got their work cut out for them in Houston. So, you have to invest somewhere. To me, I feel like our kids, I mean, you can't put the money in a better place than that. Let's jump off to a couple topics and the critical race theory. I know you've got some pretty strong ideas on that. Tell the voters what are your thoughts on teaching that? I know right now it's not supposed to be taught in Texas schools, but just in general, what do you think?
A critical race theory is dangerous. It is a bad theory. It's not a curriculum. It's a theory. It's connected to Marxism. It's a dangerous thing to bring into the classrooms. It's a theory that has no start or no end. It's a theory that proposes it to pre-K all the way to 12th grade. There was no way that an instructor was given any type of clarity on how to lay it out or to teach it. Just to make it plain and simple, keep it straight. It's a theory that's very divisive. It's dangerous, it's divisive, and also there's monetary gain behind it. And I'll tell you what I learned yesterday. And we know what the Bible says. The Bible says that for the love of money is the root of all evil. It pits children against each other because it says that all whites are racist, and that's racist in itself. How could you even fathom the idea of putting such thing in the classroom? And I tell you, since the George Floyd incident, races and different cultures begin to come together from all walks of life, and there's peace that's going on. Now, how funny and incidental do you think it is on how the enemy, the devil himself, will use something like critical race theory to come up and destroy the peace that we have right now? I am totally against it. It's bad. And we've learned yesterday on a news website to where the sitting attorney general's son-in-law has already contracted with 1,500 of the 14,000 school districts in the USA to sell CRT-related books to those districts. And so now he's being checked out as having a conflict of interest with his son-in-law selling those products. So
now that makes sense. And now that makes sense why they tried to shut the citizens down from speaking against critical race theory at school board meetings. Remember that? I mean, it's all part of the follow the money, the corruption, the evil. It's so bad. And like I say right now, fortunately, we've got still some conservative leadership in our state where we haven't bowed down to those pressures yet, but still, there's teachers who have their own philosophy that they'd try to indoctrinate. And of course, by the time they hit our colleges, it's game over. But
some things do need to be taught at home, just like sex education.
Yeah.
Those hard topics I teach my daughter about. Those hard topics parents should teach their daughters at home. We should not rely on the school system to raise our children. And critical race theory is just another piece of mess that is very divisive and hot, and it shouldn't be in the classroom. If you want to train them on history, if you want to train them on Martin Luther King, Black history, slavery, there are better ways of doing it than using a collaborative that came from some what you call Black scholars from a long time ago, back in 1960 and 1970. Why do you think Martin Luther King didn't use it? It's been around. It's not brand new. Why do you think it's being brought up now? Right, to bring division, and if you divide, you can conquer. Then also money. Money, and for the love of money is the root of all evil.
I would like for you to, if you had the opportunity to communicate with the Latino student, Black student families, the single moms, the single parents struggling to just kind of keep a roof over their heads, trying to keep food on the table. And now you got kids in schools, and it all adds up, and there seems to not be enough time. But man, give me a message, or give them a message as to the importance of going to school.
Yes. Listen, I was just talking to a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and I listened to them. And first of all, before I get into that, when I'm elected, I'm going to speak by faith. You'll have a school member that will be a listener to the kids, to the children on the front line. Why? Because I've been listening to people on the front lines all my life. You get most of the solutions from the people on the front line. You get most solutions from the children that are dealing with the day-to-day issues every day. I want the children to know that I still proudly display my high school diploma that I got in 1983. It was my diploma that enabled me to get my first job as a plumber. It was my diploma that I was proud of to walk across that stage. I was the second of 6 kids to graduate and get a diploma. Unfortunately, my brothers and sisters, some of them struggled, but I got that diploma and I was proud of it. They went back, some of them got a GED, but school, high school is a very, very basic foundation that you need to have an understanding on life, have an understanding on where you're going to go. And it's still important to know where you want to go. These things are still important to me. I want to be a fireman when I grow up. I want to be a police officer when I grow up. When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a business person or an entrepreneur. All of these ideas and creativities start in school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. I want to be a football player. I want to be a basketball player. All of that, it starts in school. School is very, very important. I say to that young lady or that young father that's a single parent, listen, try your best to keep your children in school. School will always be important. Elementary, middle, high school will always be a vital component for the success of your life. Your children are future presidents, leaders, future, business owners. They are our future. And that's why my slogan on one of my campaign signs is, your vote will determine your child's future.
You got to have an environment, a safe environment. How are the schools? Are they safe, or is there a lot of violence in these high schools? There's 40 some odd high schools in the city. Are we doing all we can there on that front?
No, we're not. No, we're not. I just heard it from the mouth of one of my neighbors. I live in a condominium, so the kids around here know me. They were just outside. And I asked a 13-year-old, what are the problems that you're having at your middle school? He goes to, I think, Paul Revere. He says they're fighting every day. They're fighting every day. I said, what? He said, yeah, over little things. There's a fight in the morning. There's a fight in the afternoon. There's a fight in the evening. And we got to get to the root cause of what's causing this anger and frustration among the kids.
What
I
do you
don't
think
know.
it is?
I think there's a mixture of things. I think bullying is going on. I think you have cyberbullying that's going on now with it. We have so many kids have access to social media. And I think that once we talk about the topic and bring it out to the front, once it's exposed, then you begin to work step by step and figure out better ways of resolving it with the campus management, which who in this case will be the principal. Um, and so, no, I would say that we are deficient in the area of safety, and that will be one of my top priorities as a board member. And I told one of our huge media outlets the other day, I'm going to be a different type of board member. I have the time and energy and the passion and compassion for the job. I'm going to take the time out to visit all 13 of my elementary schools, all 3 of my high schools, and 4 of my middle schools in my district, one by one, and build a relationship with the campus management and see where help is needed, see where deficiencies are needed, and see where things are going great. And where things are going great, of course, you take what you call the best practices and you try to implement it in your other schools, and then bring it back to the board and share it with the 8 additional districts and see if they can use some of those models there.
You think you'll be able to get along with the others to get things done?
Absolutely. I've always been a people person, and I'm sure it's exhuming over the radio. Over television screen here. Absolutely. I'm used to dealing with all types of personalities. Again, as a minister, as a person who has been in customer service and public service for 35 years, I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've dealt with it all. And listen, we used to have call escalation when we worked for 311. No matter how hot or heavy or heady or how much profanity a person has used with me, I've always been able to calm them down. So when I get on the board, it'll be a great addition to what's going on. And we're going to deal with solutions, getting with solutions rather than bouncing problems day to day and forgetting about the main goal, which is the quality education of our children.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, sir, I'll give you a final word and we'll wrap up for the night.
Well, let me just thank you once again for allowing me to come. Listen, our school district is at a pivotal point. This will be one of the most important elections in the history of the Houston Independent School District. Unfortunately, the dirt has been uncovered. We've had illegal meetings, illegal quorums. We've had board members who have been caught getting paid and giving favor to contractors for monies that they got for their campaign. All of this has come to the forefront and has been exposed. Parents are angry because they've been faced with mandates and then faced with having this critical race theory being forced on their young children, on their teenage children, and all children alike. We're at a time now where you need to know who is going to be governing your children. My name is Kendall Baker, a community member all my life and lived in the district for 35 years. Listen, I'm up for the challenge. It's not a paid position, but I have compassion and passion. I want to improve what's going on around me. And I want to leave a legacy to say that, listen, these are our future. These children are who are going to be leading us when we're old one day. I want to say that we left a thumbprint, a blueprint, a fingerprint on the situation, and we tried to bring some normalcy to the situation. And for once in a long, long time, you have a guy that has finally voiced and got some things that the parents wanted, got some things that the children wanted, and got some things back to normalcy again. And we've taken politics out of the board and now given the board back over to the people.
All right. So you were talking a little bit earlier about, going to college, but not everyone is college bound or wants to go to college. What are your thoughts on trade schools and those other things?
That is a hot topic of the nation, trades and codes. But in the HISD, they come up with a more fancier name. It's called Career and Technology Education.
Hmm.
As a school board member, I want to expand that program to more high schools because it's because of trades that got me my first job as a plumber when I got out of high school. I was doing plumbing. And so I do want to expand the career and technology education. I want to show transparency with the budget to let the people of Houston see where the money's going and follow the trail very easy without having to peel through layers. Of course, I mentioned better pay for teachers. I'm definitely going to give a shot at decreasing taxes, even if it's 0.2, 0.3, or 0.5 a year. We want to aim at decreasing taxes because people are complaining that we're paying very, very high taxes. And here's another thing I told people want to do. I agree in the voucher program, whereby you're already paying HISD taxes. You're already paying HISD taxes. So why not give you a voucher to assist you in the payment of your children if you select to send them to another school that costs money?
Well, it's, I was also looking at how many failing schools there are in HISD, and it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of failing schools. And then there's even more that are like D grades. I don't even know how a D is not an F. I remember when they did away with D's, but somehow they still rate schools with a D. But if you count up the D's and F's in HISD, that's a ton. There's a ton of those schools that are failing schools.
Yeah, our superintendent is doing a tour now, what he call a listening tour, and he's visiting some of those tours. I'm going to make that my daily routine because the job of a trustee only requires 2 or 3 meetings per month. So in all my other spare time, and I have the time because I'm semi-retired and I work when I want to, I'm going to put a lot of my free time into going to the schools and finding out the root cause of the failing schools by having an ongoing relationship and dialogue with the principals involving the superintendent, of course, because I want to go over, the boundaries of my job, but I want to go over and above to see if we can improve these failing schools and do it pretty fast.
And to keep the students in the system, keep them in the school system, keep the dollars in the school system, but increase the quality of service. Make it so that the parents don't need a voucher to go look for a private school. The public schools just need to handle the business of teaching the kids. And,
that's right, because people were talking about voucher. You hear everything on the campaign trail, but honestly, if I would back up a little bit and just restate that, I want to make HISD a school district of choice again by improving what we have on hand. And all the potential is there, but the leadership is what's missing. And that's the component Kendall Baker plans to bring to District 6.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do that voiceover again.
That voiceover the city of Houston knows is this one. Thank you for calling the 311 Houston Service Helpline. For English, press 1. Para español, máquina diga dos. And thank you for calling HISD.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for tuning in and watching and getting to know Dr. Kendall Baker in Houston. He's running for School Board Trustee, District 6, Houston ISD, the largest school district in Texas. And I drove around, and I'm telling you, it is densely populated, lots of people, lots of students. And, my hat's off to you and your other crew that you got running with you. You guys are all real strong. And here at Lexit USA, we're going to start calling into your campaigns starting tomorrow. So we're very excited to be working with you, and we wish all of you the best of luck, and we'll talk again soon. We're out of here. Duke Machado, Lexit USA, Strike Force.